Hello. Welcome back. This is a message for your Saturn return in Aries based on which house, so house 1 through 12 of your natal chart. Yes, in the Placidus system, just to clarify that. So what house are you having your Saturn return in Aries in? And based on that house that it is in, how it is impacting your experience for the next 2.5 years. And ultimately, what is your opportunity for the next 2.5 years based on this placement? So before I get into the channeled messages that I wrote down in such detail here, for each house, you will have the opportunity, I hope I will do my very best as well, to put in the, what do you call them, these times, okay, for you to just click on in the description box below the video so that you can just easily go and listen to your channeled message for the house that this Saturn return in Aries is taking place in for you. Before we do that, I am going to share with you a channeled message for overall energy for the collective with this Saturn in Aries transit, which began around May 23rd, May 25th, between those dates, and will be again ongoing for the next 2.5 years, this transit. So that means that there is an overall opportunity within this, you can say, 2.5 year cycle for the collective, and especially for those, again, who are having, like myself, your Saturn return in Aries. That means that you have your natal Saturn in Aries, okay? So the overall opportunity for the next few years, for the collective, for you watching, is to live one's life, live your life for you, and live authentically. This is your gift to humanity when you are living authentically. It's a gift to the collective. It's a gift to the earth to live from your essence, okay? It is more than enough, and Saturn is here to ensure us all that living authentically and bravely going forward is exactly what we do, exactly what takes place, because Saturn is this planet of justice. It's like that grandfather energy that says, you can even say in the healthy sense, okay, if you understand what this word truly means, the concept of patriarchal energy, okay? It's that patriarchal grandfather energy that says, this must take place, this is how it's going to be, and it makes sure that that happens. That's Saturn. Over time. Saturn rules time, okay? So it's time to take some calculated risks that are bold and that are led by your heart, okay? And trust that this will naturally serve others around you and the collective, people that you may not even know are listening and observing you, but it is serving them well. It is inspiring them that you are being who you are from the essence of your being, the core of your being, from your heart space, and not your mind's idea of what others expect for you to be, okay? So Aries can sometimes be looked at, perceived as this workhorse. Aries likes to work. Aries likes to go full force, into a project, into taking action on something, and sometimes so much that they become burnt out. Aries people, okay, the Aries archetype can easily become overwhelmed and experience burnout because they're so passionate and so giving their all to whatever they decide to do that it becomes this hustle and maybe even a struggle and not something that Aries loves, okay? And it's really important that Aries loves what Aries does, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is connected to, if you want to call it, our inner child. It's like the very core, the very essence of our being that lives inside of us is this Aries. It's connected to Aries. It's this Aries energy. It's the ruler of the first house, the ascendant sign of our astrology, okay, of our astrological chart. So that means that it is the first and foremost, again, the essence, the core of our being that we have to recognize, that we have to acknowledge in terms of what we decide to do on a day-to-day basis, but especially when it comes to something that we are creatively expressing, creating, and putting out into the world, okay? So this is not to be confused. This Saturn, like justice, getting organized, making sure that this thing takes place, happens in the material. This is not to be confused with being a workhorse, okay, and hustling. That is not what the Saturn and Aries energy, opportunity, transit is about. And I don't care who tells you otherwise. That's not what this is. This is about, yes, taking responsibility, but being a workhorse, like I said, does not mean that you are being responsible, okay? Your responsibility is to honor your dreams, your dream life, your pull, this desire that you have for creating. When you receive this like nudge, this intuitive nudge, this tap on your shoulder of, ooh, I'm inspired by that and I want to create from that, being inspired by that, being in this energy of inspiration, okay? That is your responsibility to honor that. That is what this transit is about. So, with that being said, it is likely less physical and mental work than you probably think. It's more spiritual work and via your own spiritual practice, okay, daily. And it's more emotional healing, acknowledgement, and transmutation, alchemy, okay? It's about using your emotional processing, the cycles of your emotions actually, as inspiration for creation. This is your safety net for the next 2.5 years and thereafter, okay? Is to, again, acknowledge your emotional processing, your emotional cycle, and use the wisdom from that as inspiration for creation. That is your safety net here in this material and in the spiritual realms, okay? So now we will get into the channeled messages that I, again, wrote down in great detail here for each house. So we'll start with the Saturn return in Aries in your first house, which means that you are an Aries rising, Aries ascendant. Your opportunity to claim for this next 2.5 years is to tell your story to the masses. Your story, not her story, not his story, not your mom's story, your dad's story, your grandpa. Tell your story to the masses. And this creative expression, yes, telling your story is indeed an expression of your creativity, okay, may happen, you may notice, through your voice, through speaking. Some of you I was picking up could even be a singer, okay, a songwriter, something like that. But like Rihanna, okay, is a great example of this. She is an Aries rising. And if you've noticed, she's been talking about putting out this album with visuals to it during this transit, okay, of Saturn in Aries. And not that she's in her Saturn return, but Saturn is in her first house for the next 2.5 years, and it's the perfect time for her to do this. So tell your story to the masses through your voice, through your writing. Justice, aka what you are meant to be receiving in the material here, will come from this, okay? So how does your story continue? That is solely up to you. Again, not to anyone or anything outside of yourself. And this is going to require great recognition and acknowledgement of what is emotionally fulfilling for you. Okay, Aries rising. Now moving into the second house. So your Saturn return is in your second house for the next 2.5 years. Then your opportunity is to claim what you are worthy of and what you desire to receive from your creative expression. Okay, so I heard these words. I heard music, I heard DJ, I heard astrology, teaching, mysticism, and then I heard an open portal to money for 3 years, because the second house is ruled by Venus. It's ruled by Taurus, and the second house is where we find out how to attract and access our material desires, resources, money, anything in the material that we attract and desire to access lives in our second house. So having Aries in that house is about simply believing in yourself, honestly, in order to attract what it is that you desire and what you are meant worthy of receiving in terms of the material, okay? It's also really important. I heard you get what you want when you're popping. This is a saying. If you don't understand it, I'll explain it. This is a saying in English in the US, okay, maybe even in the African American community, but it means like when you're popping, it's like you're confident. It's not necessarily about being cocky, but you're really confident in who you are, and you're unapologetically living in that frequency, embodying that. I also heard live luxuriously now. Again, second house, ruled by Venus, ruled by Taurus. It's all about luxury. Whatever that term means to you is the way that you are meant to be living, embodying, okay, that on a daily basis in order to attract, again, and access the material resources and experiences that you desire. This is all about, simply put, forming a new self-concept. This is a new self-concept activation for you, having Saturn return in your second house for the next 2.5 years. I believe I had written just a little bit more for the second house. Yes, in regards to this new self-concept activation. You are worthy because you are authentically you in your creativity, not because you worked hard. No more hustle for money and material gains. It's time to play in the spaces and with the people that are a frequency match with you in your purity, in your essence. They will open doors for you to your material desires, and they'll be the ones writing those 5 to 6 figure checks that you imagine yourself receiving. So choose your energy investments in terms of people, places, environments, and commitments wisely. Choose them wisely. It's meant to be easy, actually. Again, Venus, Taurus energy. It's meant to be with ease. If anything that you are investing your energy into and your creative expression into feels like a struggle or a hustle, then that's how you know over the next 2.5 years that you're actually out of alignment with your pure essence and what you're really worthy of. Okay. Moving on to having the Saturn return in your 3rd house. So this one came through so clearly. It's quite short and direct. If you have Saturn return in your 3rd house, your opportunity is that your mind is going to take a back seat, honey, for the next 2.5 years. Your heart is going to take the driver's seat for your expression and your agreed commitments. Okay. I channeled here that there could be an ending coming throughout these 2.5 years for you. There could be this ending, like kind of abrupt ending to something that maybe was never meant to begin for you, is how this came through. You have to trust that this is a redirection to realign you with what is authentically you. And it's going to be very important that as this change takes place, that you speak life, because the 3rd house is ruled by Gemini and it is about communication. Okay, so it's going to be very important that using your voice and even your thoughts, but especially when you're speaking about yourself and your life, what you have experienced and what you are experiencing and want to experience going forward, that you speak about all of this with conviction, with love, with such intention about, remember really when you're speaking about yourself and your life, what you actually really desire, and not focusing, highlighting what it is that you don't want, what you don't desire going forward. Okay. That's your ultimate opportunity if you've got Saturn return in your 3rd house. So Saturn return in the 4th house, for the next 2.5 years, your opportunity could be a justified relocation of or changes to your home. Okay, 4th house rules the home. It's ruled by Cancer. It's ruled by the moon. It's very much about home and even your body, your first home, your temple, your body. So there could be some relocation, a move, or simply just changes to your physical home that you're living in, or to your body, okay, your temple, your health, perhaps you can say. I channeled here for you that it's time for your home environment to support your dream life, as if it is a sacred temple where you recharge your energy and become inspired. The ancestors are assisting. Don't resist. whatever may seem a loss will actually be multiplied in gains. Very clear message. The fourth house being ruled by the moon and by Cancer, and being home, family, it is also, there's connection to your lineage, there's connection to your ancestors, and you could be receiving a lot, like very strong ancestral guidance throughout the next 2.5 years as this relocation or these changes of your home environment or of your body are occurring. And it's going to be very, very important that you follow this guidance and that you don't resist, because actually it is sort of protection. This redirection, this change is protection for you, and ultimately leading you toward that pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow that you have probably expressed that you want, that you desire. That's your ultimate opportunity over the next 2.5 years. So we're moving into the Saturn return in the 5th house. If you've got this transit in your 5th house for the next 2.5 years, your ultimate opportunity, also very clear this one here, is actually to stop asking who you are. If you've been asking, who am I? What do I want? What I really want to do? Stop. Stop it. Because it's time for you to actually just start being who your heart has. I'm quite certain your heart has been told you who it wants you to be. And I think that has been the case for you since you were younger, since you were a child. You've felt connected to this particular thing or these things, okay? And you've got to trust that and stop asking who you are, who am I, okay? I channeled here for you that it's time for you to speak. It's time for you to teach and to lead others, okay? The 5th house is ruled by the sun. It's ruled by Leo. And that means who you decide on a daily basis to show up as, okay? Which, please be your own muse. Be your own archetype, okay? But who you choose to show up as on a daily basis is exactly who you are, okay? And so people are watching, people are listening to you, because again, this is ruled by the sun, it's ruled by Leo. It's a fierceness sort of energy. It's the sun rules, you could say the ego, but it is your personality, like to its core, okay? And it's connected to the heart. Leo is connected to the heart. So speak from the heart, lead others from the heart, just by being who you are. You are setting the example for those around you, even if they pretend or seem like they aren't watching and listening. Get in your heart and get out of your head. Okay? That is your ultimate opportunity for the next 2.5 years. So, if you have your Saturn return in your 6th house, your grand opportunity for this next 2.5 year cycle is to continue to ask yourself, what is the path of least resistance for me today? Who are you living for? Ask yourself this on a daily basis. Who am I living for? Okay? And what is the path of least resistance for me today? Because the 6th house is ruled by Mercury. It's ruled by Virgo. And Virgo tends, especially right now, as the South Node is also in Virgo, this energy is so heavy amongst the collective. And Virgo tends to be what we may call, in terms of the archetypes of the astrology, the perfectionist. Okay, in terms of organizing, in terms of planning, in terms of doing. Virgo tends to be the perfectionist. And so, what is the path of least resistance for you on a day-to-day basis? What allows you to be in this flow in terms of being of purpose, of service to others and to yourself? So who are you living for? Who told you that was wrong for you? Who told you that was right for you? You are not a sheep. You are a shepherd, actually. Your authentic expression may ruffle feathers for some, okay, and lead a movement for others. So there could be changes in your career, work, and social environments with this transit for the next 2.5 years. But ultimately, these changes are aligning you with the essence of who you really are and what you're really and truly worthy of experiencing and receiving in these work opportunities, and social environments and connections. So if you have Saturn returning in your 7th house, your opportunity for the next 2.5 years is that there is, well, I'll just say it like this. I've channeled it like this. That there is a magnifying glass over these few years on the personal relationships that really uplift you as an autonomous being. These relationships are the ones that hold you accountable in making choices with integrity for yourself. And you offer the same, it's vice versa in these relationships. This is a must if you've got Aries in your 7th house, okay? There will be, you can certainly expect changes and justice in love and personal connections, especially in romantic connections, relationships, over these next 2.5 years. But they will really ultimately realign you with being, I'm getting like the word just in truth, just being truth, being honest with yourself and being honest with others, okay? Expressing yourself in your personal relationships from a place of integrity, from a place of truth. And you will be receptive or learn to be receptive over these next years to those relationships, those people doing that exact same thing with you, okay? So, moving on to, just kidding. I've got a little bit more here about the 7th house that I channeled. So still 7th house, Saturn return in your 7th house. It is time to hit the reset button on your most personal relationships and reassess if you've been showing up for these connections according to your heart or your head. Do you love that way, that you love those people because it feels good for you, or because you think that those people expect that of you? Are you distancing yourself from being vulnerable in these relationships about how you really feel and what you really desire because you fear being rejected. Risk the fear and cry and tell them anyway, so you can align with the love and the relationships that are really meant for you. Moving on to the 8th house, if your Saturn return is in your 8th house for the next 2.5 years, then this message is for you. Before you proceed or pick up the next project on your mind, you will be involuntarily called in for a long chat with your heart. The emotions that may come up to the surface are ready for you to take a deep dive into the past experiences, mistakes, wounds, traumas, pain, and disappointment that was self-inflicted and projected onto you in your personal relationships. So these are the keys you seek. Acknowledging these emotions, okay, and these past experiences and the wisdom within them is the key that you seek, that you have been seeking, and you still are right now as you're watching this video, that will unlock the doors of success for your creative projects and endeavors. Even the ones that have been started already, they're meant to be successful, but they have yet to be successful according to you. So it's time to look at yourself and all of the ways that you've gotten in your own way of what you desire by pushing down your most precious and secret superpower, your shadow, your emotions. Okay? That's your opportunity for the next 2.5 years with Saturn in your 8th house. Moving on to Saturn return in the 9th house. Your channeled opportunity for the next 2.5 years goes like this. The visions and creative expression that you've had over many years prior to now was rooted in enjoyment, fun, and playfulness. However, now you are tasked with creating a long-term vision that is going to serve and benefit all, including yourself, for many more years to come. No more short-term thinking or creatively expressing yourself, okay? It's time for a solid plan, which will require that you inquire and become receptive to assistance from divine, from your spirit team, your ancestors, and from your community. You may be guided to reassess your own spiritual practice and beliefs about the universe and universal law. Stability for the long term can come easier than you may have thought once you transmute the shadows of your beliefs. Saturn return in the 10th house, your opportunity for the next 2.5 years is that you need to question this. Is your essence able to purely shine through in the current career or profession of your choice? The one that you've been investing much, if not all of your time, aka your energy, into. If you've been experiencing burnout, overwhelm, frequent exhaustion, or thoughts of regret, then it's time for a 2.5-year sweep of this area of your life. Your purpose, your being of service, your career, your work, okay? You are actually who you say you are and what you choose to do every day, especially if you still are practicing making a living rather than making your dream life. Your wealth is directly connected to you owning and embodying the pure essence of who you really are and have always been. Your current failures are your key to your new aligned success. Saturn return in Aries in the 11th house. Your opportunity over the next 2.5 years is a new concept of community and self-purpose being fulfilled amongst community. So your self-concept must be embraced with confidence in order to attract the community and the clients that believe in what it is that you are offering. Are you being of service to others for external validation? Or are you authentically creating and expressing your gifts without concern about who is watching you? Your wealth and prosperity are a direct reflection of your self-concept and your authentic, intuitive expression out into the world. So this is how you will attract the community and the clients that are actually a frequency match with you and that will actually uplift you. Saturn return in the 12th house for the next 2.5 years. Your opportunity is a major clearance of the old stories, ideas, and beliefs about your self-worth, your self-identity, and especially the idea that you must work hard to live well here in the material. Your dream life is the risk that it is time for you to take, and your mind will not be leading the way. You must learn how to work with your darkness, your shadows, and transmute them, alchemize them into gold. When you face, acknowledge, and stop judging your past versions, your trauma and wounds, your failure moments, you will begin to recognize the wisdom that you have actually gained from all these parts and versions of yourself and your past experiences. Your spiritual practice may deepen and will even support the clearance of these old narratives over the next 2.5 years. So thank you for tuning in. These are mostly short and detailed channelings, again, that I just wrote down for each house for this transit of your Saturn return. And perhaps I will have the opportunity for you to go more in depth of what to do, some more guidance for you in terms of understanding what it means that Saturn is returning in this area of your life based on the house. If you reach out to me by email, which is in my bio description, provisionsbycydney@gmail.com. And my website will also be up and running again for you to more easily get in touch or book a private session for astrology or any channeling or readings. And I look forward to checking in here again with you all and sharing more channeled messages. All right, till next time. Thank you.